All right, there in Kigali, Rwanda, it is said to be business for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. 22 players out of the 23 invited players are in camp. And then we know that the match days are for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. We are hammering on it. All important games are for the Super Eagles, and they need to come out with maximum 6 points from those two games to be played. On Friday, against Rwanda, and on Tuesday, they'll be playing against Zimbabwe here in Nigeria. How will the Super Eagles of Nigeria fare? But I can confirm to you that Amasa Basioge, Tolu Arokodare, Kayode Bankole, Victor Osimhen, Bruno Oyemichi, Papa Daniel, Simon Moses, Victor Boniface, Raphael Yedika, Jordan Torunuga, Stanley Wabali, Samuel Chukwueze, Iko Ogbu. We also have Williams Ekong, Wilfred Ndidi, Calvin Bassi, Demola Lukman, Alexander Iwobi, Joseph Adele Aribo, Bright Asai Samuel, Olaoluwa and Sadiq Umar. Well, other players in camp of the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Alassane Yusuf, who plays in the US, is the only player yet to arrive in the camp of the three-time African champions. Remember that these games are in a bid for the Super Eagles to qualify for the FIFA Men's World Cup set to be hosted by the United States of America, Canada, and Mexico. We missed out on the Qatar edition. That was in the year 2022 after missing out on an aggregate scoreline. And that's against the Black Stars of Ghana. But how would the Nigeria Football Federation and every lover of football here in Nigeria will react to this if we don't get to qualify for yet another FIFA Men's World Cup? But then the question is, Eric Cho, what is he bringing to the table with the Super Eagles of Nigeria? On the show this lovely afternoon, we take a listen to the words of Victor James Osimhen. Well, that was the 2023 African Player of the Year. What he also has to say about the conversation in which the Malian coach had with him, talking about Eric Cho, the newly appointed head coach of the Super Eagles of Nigeria. After listening to the words of Victor James Osimhen, well, definitely we'll still take more reactions from the camp of the Super Eagles of Nigeria. And then we'll listen to the voice of Kalista, who is also with the players, and also just in Rwanda with the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Well, she definitely is a sport enthusiast, and we'll take a listen to what she also has to say about everything we need to know about the Super Eagles of Nigeria there in Rwanda presently at this point in time. But I can confirm later to you that all 22 players who are in camp are going to partake of that in a training session later today. Yesterday, it was the gym exercise, the gym session they had, but later today, they'll be taking us straight to the practice pitch where definitely they would test their skills and also put everything to action. Well, we'll have the likes of Victor Osimhen, who leads the Turkish goal scoring chart in Turkey, Tolu Arokodare, who leads the Belgian Jupiter League also, Demola Lukman, third in the Serie A goal scoring sheet. And then we have some of the best defenders in the folds of the Super Eagles, Calvin Bassi. We also have Olaoluwa, who leads the charge for the most recovered balls in his own half. That's talking about defensive players this season. Well, definitely, as a group, how are they going to fare? That's the question now for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Well, we have other sporting stories which are cut across European football as well. We talk about Formula 1 on the show. We talk about tennis. And then we talk about that game, the UEFA Women's Champions League. Real Madrid against Arsenal, in case you don't know. But later tomorrow, we will have Chelsea against the Manchester City. And now, both sides are going to be in action. Over the course of the weekend, Chelsea won a trophy and defeated Manchester City by 2-1. They will face off in over 2 legs also in the UEFA Women's Champions League. And then they will still face off that's in the Women's Super League. So you tell that it is a bit of an encounter between both sides when we talk about female football in England. So I welcome you to the show once again. That's a Scoreboard Reloaded right on 32 FM 94.9. And you're listening to the voice of Oluwatimilei Samis Ogunde. Quickly, let's team up with Kalista to take a listen to what she has for us as regards the Super Eagles of Nigeria and everything we need to know about those who are in camp and also what we expect from the Super Eagles later today and also during the course of the week. Kalista, take it from there.
Eric Cho will be having his first training with the Super Eagles of Nigeria live here in Kigali, Rwanda. He was unable to train with the players yesterday because we had 6 players in the camp of the Super Eagles and they had gym section. But today with 22 players 9 arriving this morning in camp. Ole Alassane Youssoufou is expected to arrive tonight and from the US. The players will be having their first training section with the new coach. The tough task to qualify for the World Cup that will be taking place in the US, Mexico and Canada 2026 begins for Eric Schell. Before now, he has spoken to the players and as well visited some, but he has made it a point of duty that he is the first person the players sees when they arrive in camp, patiently waiting for them at the door, be it at the airport where he saw Victor Osimhen and Bruno Onyemaechi, but at the hotel, he patiently waits for the players, welcome them into the camp, and for those he has not met, he properly introduced himself and to the players. Rwanda might be a beautiful country, but the Super Eagles of Nigeria will be looking to get a much needed 3 points away from home. Looking at our last 6 meetings with Rwanda, we have managed to win 1, Rwanda winning 1 and 4 draws. After playing 4 games in the World Cup qualifiers in Group C, Rwanda is topping that table with 7 points and Nigeria with 3 points. It's a must-win game for Eric Schell and the players. On papers, we have the best names in the world and to execute the stats. For Nigeria, we have players that have been dominating in the top 5 leagues in Europe, to name a few: Victor Osimhen, Victor Boniface, Ademola Lookman, Olajuwon, Alex Iwobi, Moses Simon, Calvin Bassey. On papers, we are a strong team. Eric Schell will have to find a way to get a result. For now, the team needs all the support they can get. So if you are a Nigerian and you are living in Kigali, Rwanda, come out in mass to support the Super Eagles of Nigeria on the 21st of March. The game will be played on the 21st before we play the second leg against Zimbabwe in Uyo on the 25th. All hands on deck to ensure that we get a result from Rwanda.
So has he personally called you to say?
All right, so thank you so much, Kalista. And there you listened to the words of Kalista. Well, for the Super Eagles of Nigeria, we needed to get that victory, that 3 points against Rwanda. And she mentioned that Rwanda, they presently atop the standing of the 2026 FIFA Men's World Cup qualification games. But I tell you that Africa roads to the World Cup in 2026, it resumes on a Wednesday. And well, we tell you that the continent's heavyweight, they look to move closer to a berth there at the global showpiece. Match day 5 of the group stage will kick off. That's on Wednesday evening with 3 games across the continent, and the most notable of which we see the Cameroonian national team looking to move clear at the top of Group D when they face host Eswatini. They're in neutral Nelspruit. They're in South Africa. While the Indomitable Lions have not been, they have been to 8 World Cups and will back themselves to stay top their group. Though tension clearly remains between Cameroonian Football Federation, FECAFOOT, that's the president, Samuel Eto'o, and also the head coach, Mark Bryce. But now let's still go back and talk about the Super Eagles of Nigeria, with everything in which we know is going on. But the new manager, Scoreboard Reloaded, well, of course, speaking with one of the front men of the Super Eagles of Nigeria, Victor James Osimhen. Yes, you know, this man played through the age cadets in Nigerian football, and then, he led the Super Eagles maybe to a second place finish there in Ivory Coast last year, the African Cup of Nations. But then, you know, that his heroics also as put in as some of the prolific strikers in the world of football in this present time, helping in Napoli to win his first Scudetto title in over 33 years, and then he has continued in such feats there with Galatasaray this season. But Victor James Osimhen, while speaking with Super Eagles legend, that's John Obi Mikel, well, he definitely has this to say about the conversation and, the discussion between himself and Scoreboard Reloaded. Let's take a listen to what Victor James Osimhen has to say.
So has he personally called you to say, Victor, what can we do to be successful together?
Yeah, we spoke. I think last week.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, he called me alongside his assistant, and I could see because of course I know him in the previous AFCON.
Okay.
What he's done with the Malian teams.
Oh, really?
You know, he's a coach that loves to play.
I really don't know about him.
No. We watch Malian.
Oh, wow.
We watch the team. He's a coach that really loves to play and everything like that, and he really loves to fight. So apparently, you know, it's like a, I don't know how to put it.
Similar to you.
Yes.
You guys.
And again, I'm trying to give most of the players that would, you know, my teammates and national team that will probably listen to this podcast or this interview, a kind of snippet of what they could, you know, get.
Okay,
because
put your mind.
According to what he said to me, you know, it's going to be very, very demanding.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it's going to be very, very demanding.
So everybody should lace their boots up and get ready.
And he said, Victor, listen, you and other guys that I've called, I need you guys to come hand in hand with me to work to achieve amazing thing for this, for Nigeria.
Yeah.
And I think you guys have the quality to do it. But the one who doesn't fight for every ball, the one who doesn't run
for every ball,
will not play.
Wow.
Yeah, it was clear. It was really clear with me, you know. It was clear with me. And then he goes about and you know, said he can be a father, a big brother, or uncle to everyone. But on the pitch, this is business. So he told me, we're gonna do amazing thing. But guys, Victor, 𝐂𝐿 and the rest he has spoken to,
the senior players,
I need you to work with me. I need you to come hand in hand with me. If the players seeing you guys running so
they
crazy,
will do it, exactly. The younger, they have to follow. Yeah.
So I think it started from you guys. I might scream at you guys. I might do some kind of stuff, but don't take it like that. And
just so the younger ones see
and
it,
I think I totally agree with him. You know, to be able to achieve something, Nigeria is a big country. You know, without millions of players. So if you're privileged to put on the Super Eagles jersey, you have to give everything.
Yeah.
So I think we've gotten a coach that's going to be very, very demanding.
Wow.
All right, today listen to the words of Victor James Osimhen saying that he thinks the Super Eagles, they've got a coach that is going to be very, very demanding. Like I said, it's a new era for the Super Eagles entering under the guidance of 𝐾𝐈𝐒𝐿. And then you definitely know that from the conversation in which Osimhen put out there, players must also be at their best. They should show commitment and bear in mind that they can all fly together to reach the goal, in which is turn the tides around and ensure that the Super Eagles qualify to the 2026 FIFA Men's World Cup. But no, we know that tomorrow the games are going to come in thick and faster on the continent, where Tswana will be up against Cameroon, Liberia against Tunisia, Central African Republic. They would also be up against Madagascar. And then we'll talk about some of the fixtures for Thursday: Mozambique against Uganda, Sierra Leone against Guinea-Bissau, Zimbabwe against Benin. We would also have Malawi against Namibia, and then we have Libya against Angola, Gabon against Seychelles, Gambia against Kenya. We have Gambia against Kenya, Comoros against Mali. But we go on this break now. When we come back, it's time to talk about some bit of European football stories, as well as other sporting stories that make it around today in the exciting world of sports. Aruna Kadri is in the news this lovely afternoon. The program returns right after this time out.
You're listening to 32 FM 94.9.
Tí wọ́n bá bi ọ́ léèrè pé kí o dárúkọ eré ìdíje géèmù mánigbàgbé tó dángájá, bẹ̀tánù ni ìdáhùn rẹ̀ lọ́jọ́kọ́jọ́. Ó yá tara ṣàṣà kí ìwọ náà bá wọn jẹ àǹfààní nínú géèmù alárinrin tó fanimọ́ra ní ìpele pẹ̀lú ẹgbẹ̀rún lọ́nà igba 200,000 owó ìkíni káàbọ̀ àti àwọn ẹ̀bùn mìíràn bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. Bẹ̀tánù ayò ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ báyìí. Forí pípẹ́ tayò yìí o. Ó bẹ̀rẹ̀ látòrí ọmọ ọdún 18 lọ sókè. Alájọṣepọ̀ ẹgbẹ́ Aston Villa ni wá.
Àṣejù ní ká gbé sí rédíò mi 32 FM ti wà òkè.
Stay tuned to 32 FM 94.9.
All right, welcome back. The program is still Scoreboard Reloaded right here on 32 FM 94.9. Well, there what you need to know about the Super Eagles, where we have 22 players in camp, and the only player we expecting is Alassane Youssouf, who trades his game in the US. He's the only player left to join up with the rest of the squad, and they are going to have their first training session, just as I said, and also Kalista reiterated at that point. And then we also listened to the voice of Victor James Osimhen, also speaking about the conversation he had with the head coach of the Super Eagles, that's 𝐂𝐿. But then we move away from that also and quickly talk about some other football stories before we settle for not the so-called football stories. Well, for Belgium, they have called up that 𝐒𝐈𝐒 and Michy Batshuayi as cover-up for their Nations League playoffs against Ukraine. That's Rudy Garcia. He prepares for players withdrawing because of injury. But then the centre-back, that's 𝐒𝐈𝐒, who is 22 years old. He won 6 previous caps, including Belgium's last outing against Israel. That's in November. While 32-year-old striker Michy Batshuayi also, is a 10-year veteran of the national team. But then I can tell you that for Thibaut Courtois, who wasn't in the squad under the guidance of Domenico Tedesco, is now in the side. First time in 22 months, ending his self-imposed exile in a return which was met with criticism from former internationals. But Courtois, like I said, he has not played for Belgium since June 2023 when he had his part with the team's coach Domenico Tedesco over the captaincy, but has returned after the sacking of Tedesco and appointment in January of Rudy Garcia to replace him. But we'll move away from that also and still talk about some injuries that have affected some teams. Like I said this morning, Lionel Messi is not going to be involved when when Argentina would take on Brazil. That's in World Cup qualifiers. Also, we have in France national team Marcus Thuram, who was influential in how Inter Milan defeated Atlanta on Sunday night. He has been ruled out of France UEFA Nations League quarter-final games against Croatia with an ankle injury. That's according to the team medicals, despite arriving camp yesterday. And then for England, Dan Burn, he said that the celebrations are on hold now as he gained his first call-up within the folds of the Lions of England at the age of 32. Well, remember that he helped Newcastle finally end their 56-year trophy drought, setting off wild celebrations at Wembley and back home there in Tennessee. Also, let's still take a bit of a reaction from fans of Newcastle, who definitely says, they are still crying and also still so much excited about the feat on Sunday. They are at the Wembley Stadium, defeating Liverpool by 2-1.
It means so much. Just everyone back home. Sorry for up. I'm crying all the time. I'll probably start crying as we speak because I've never stopped crying since yesterday. Fantastic.
Just absolutely amazing. Absolutely, one word, amazing.
It's probably the happiest day of my life.
Amazing.
By the kids.
That's what it's all about, man. You go to work Monday to Friday, earn a crust, follow your team. Massive city, one club. That's what it's all about, isn't it?
What they're doing, Dan Burn epitomises it. He's born and bred Geordie. He's been captained by England this week. He scored the opening goal at Wembley and he gets man of the match. Is it a film? Is it a dream? No, it happened, it's true. Go on, Dan lad. Move on.
All right, there you listened to that. Well, they listened to a bit of Newcastle fans. Of course, been so much excited about what happened on Sunday. Well, all right, we'll move away from that also and move away from football-related stories and talk about this one from the world of tennis, where the Indian Wells that ended on Sunday, it sets an all-time attendance record with 504,268 tennis fans passing through the gates during the fortnight. Tournament organizers announced this. And the previous record was a total of 493,440, which was set last year at the 2024 event. And the tournament in the California desert is popular with fans who flock every match to the Palm Tree Indian Wells Tennis Garden. All right, let's move away from that and also take a listen to the words of Jack Draper, who says winning the Indian Wells title, means so much to him. The words of Jack Draper.
Since I was a young guy, watching all the champions play on this big court, it means the world to me, honestly, to be able to be a champion here. I didn't think about it until obviously the last ball's done. Before the match, you're thinking of all kinds of scenarios in your head, a lot of doubts, thinking that you probably could lose, and that's just what makes it even better is that, you know, just getting through those doubts and being able to play the final in the way I did. I'm really happy and really proud of my achievements this week.
All right, today listen to the words of a Jack Draper who defeated Ogaroon in the finals of the Indian Wells. That was on Sunday. But still talking about some tennis stories, Novak Djokovic, the Serbian, while the Players Union co-founded by Novak Djokovic has begun legal actions against tennis governing bodies, citing anti-competitive practices and a blatant disregard for players' welfare. Well, for the Professional Tennis Players Association, the PTP, they have filed papers at the United States District Court there in New York, where it is seeking a jury trial. Well, we'll move away from that also and tell you about that a bit of table tennis stories. We are on the continent is actually a good one for 𝐒𝐈𝐒. Well, he has overtaken Egypt's Omar Assar to become Africa's highest-ranked player in the world, now sitting at 18th in the Week 12 ranking released. That was earlier today, March 18, 2025. Despite finishing as runners-up at the 2025 ITTF African Cup there in Tunisia, Auna's impressive performances as a WTT tournament this year have boosted his ranking. As per the latest update from the International Table Tennis Federation, that's the ITTF, and Auna remains the only African male player to have reached the semi-finals of the WTT contender there in Doha, repeating his 2023 feat earlier this year with another semi-final finish. And this achievement also has propelled him ahead of Omar Assar of Egypt, who was crowned the champion of the 2025 ITTF African Cup there in Tunisia. Well, despite a quarter-final exit at the 2025 ITTF African Cup, Egypt's Mohamed El Belial climbed to 45th, making him the third best-ranked African player in the world. And also in the women's singles, Egypt's Anna Goda maintained a spot in Africa, moving up one place to 26th in the Week 12 ITTF ranking, and her compatriot Dina Meshrev remained static in 33rd, holding her position as the second best-ranked female tennis player that's on the continent. Well, we move away from tennis stories also and talk about a bit of fencing story. We had the Fencing Federation. They have named the young squad for the World Junior Championship there in China, and the Nigeria Fencing Federation announced the 7-member squad for next month's World Junior Fencing Championship in Wuxi, China, and from April 7 to April 15. Leading the team is Nigeria's highest-ranked fencer in 𝐃𝐈𝐒 Bro, who has been highly active this year, participating in numerous tournaments and in his quest to become the first Nigerian to compete in the Olympic fencing events. Well, according to that's Adeyinka Samuel, the president of the Nigeria Fencing Federation, he said that the selection of these young athletes highlights Nigeria's talent in the sport. Well, we will see the siblings of Mahadi, Mahatia, and Sarah. They are set to make their eagerly awaited debut for Nigeria there in China. Additionally, we have Somto Ebrene, who will make a first appearance in 2025, hoping to improve our world ranking through this tournament. So let's see how that goes also for Nigeria. That's in China. Well, quickly before we leave the show this lovely afternoon, also in the world of Formula One, well, the boss, talking about the F1 boss, that's Stefano Domenicali. Well, he has held talks with Thailand's Prime Minister about possible plans to bring a Grand Prix to the kingdom. And the Italian ex-Ferrari boss, who has just extended his contract to lead the sport until 2029, is keen to examine new markets as the sport soars in popularity, and Thailand has suggested it may be interested. All right, just as we reach home stretch on the show this lovely afternoon, we'll talk about football stories. Remember, there was an NPFL game that went down yesterday, but I tell you that for the Oluyole Warriors, they are set to play in Abuja for the President's Federation's Cup, and it is a round of 64 tie against the Zamfara United. That's later tomorrow by 10 a.m. And of course, the boys probably should be in Abuja by now. But let's see how it goes for the Oluyole Warriors. Could this be a bet for them to still play on the continent? Remember, from second, we are now sixth on the rankings of the NPFL standing. But this is how far we can go on to this edition of the program right on 32 FM. The program has been a Scoreboard Reloaded, but coming up next, is the news at 4. I am SAMIES, your sports captain, and I say do enjoy the rest of the day, and bye for now.